today on the Journey of a CISO series, we have Alex Attumalil, the Chief Information Security Officer of Under Armour. Alex, my friend, it's so good to see you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for doing this for us today.
Pam, thank you so much for having me. It's great to see you.
It's
It's,
good to
it's
see you
awesome to
too.
see friendly faces.
I know, right? Like, I love my job. I love
Yeah,
my job.
I love it.
Most people want to see me now, Alex. In my past, they have not been this happy to see me. I'm sure you get that a little bit,
You
right?
know it, you know it, you know it. It's always nice to have that friendly relationship with folks you have interacted with and you have had a good relationship that you've built, even though ours was only a week long and short, but that's a lasting relationship that we have built.
I agree. I agree. Okay, so let's get going.
Yeah,
A lot of new and aspiring CISOs are going to watch this video, and the story of someone's personal journey
yeah.
for their career can be very inspiring, as you know. And just tell us a little bit about your journey to the role of Chief Information Security Officer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something that I have also kind of thought about, right? When I got the role, there was a lot of, it was a moment where you have kind of said, look, you kind of aspired to that role and you now have it. How did you get here? And you wanted to think back to some of those things. And the question you're asking is very valid. And the answer really is there is really no prescribed path, right, to being a CISO. Everybody takes a different journey, right? um, I had a combination of great leaders who set me up for success. I had some great programs that I worked on that gave me very good experience. And then executive leadership in companies who took security very seriously. And that's what sets you up for success. And a lot of patience, right? This is not an overnight kind of a thing, right? This is a lot of work that you need to do and it becomes a success over time. I kind of think back to how I kind of started in the role, right? We were actually talking about this today. What are some of the qualities a cybersecurity leader or a cybersecurity professional need? Because you are a professional first before you become a leader, become a CISO. I started my days as a desktop support engineer, right? Back in the day when things were just starting up, Windows NT days, you can probably think about that back in the day, Pam. I really got curious about the desktop support. I really liked it. And then networking became my next thing to learn. Um, I would say my career has been all about curiosity, one after the other, right? Desktop was the first thing. Then I kind of decided, you know what? The networking guys are doing some cool stuff. Let me go talk to them. I really liked it. And then kind of decided to focus on some of the other aspects of networking and figuring out how to secure some of that stuff, right? Um, when you think about what a security professional does, it's an overlay across desktop, compute, networking, et cetera, et cetera. We don't really own a domain of our own. We are actually playing in somebody else's backyard, right? So it's always nice to kind of know what they do and they have to do on a day-to-day basis and understand what they do so you can help them, enable them, right? And over time, I took some interesting roles to kind of build my career up. I was a cert lead at an organization. I built a SOC. Eventually, got the privilege to run security operations here at Under Armour about 9, maybe 10 years ago. I think it was close to 10 years. Um, and one of the interesting things that your viewers may appreciate is the fact that you don't really pick to being a CISO someplace, right? You are invited, right? When you get to that level, you're not going to say, look, my technical merits warrant me to be a CISO. It doesn't work that way, right? There is tons of people with a lot of skill set, right? And the company or the organization realizes, look, your expertise and your experiences fit what they're looking for as a CISO, right? And they're inviting you to join that team, right? And I was lucky to be invited by my Under Armour team to join the team here, right? So as the journey kind of continues, right, it requires relationship building. You had to continuously build that relationship, be visible, active in the community, right? And Pam, you know that, right? We have to be active. You have to be you have to kind of build that relationship across the company, and also speak the language, because at the end of the day, you're protecting a business, and you had to know what the business does, right? Um, there's a lot of trust being placed on you as a CISO, right? And that's why I'm saying you are you don't get to pick, you are invited, right, to be in that leader, right? I have a lot of trust placed by the executive leaders, and that trust doesn't happen overnight. It's kind of earned in drops, right? That's something that our founder has always said. Your trust is not just happen something overnight. It is something that you earn in drops by your actions over a period of time. So let me stop there. I know that was a lot of talking.
Oh, I thought that was great. There were a couple of things I want to call out that I haven't heard before, Alex. And like your turn of a phrase is really unique. And that's why these are so important, is for people to hear different voices in this space. And so one thing, you said that great leaders helped you. I love that. Near and dear to my heart, that leadership really builds, great leaders. Great leaders build great leaders, right? So that was awesome. And then patience. I've never heard someone say that. It takes a lot of patience. So I too believe that, like, a lot of hard work goes into, these types of roles, and really people taking chances on you, like you said, inviting you to the role. That's so unique. And then something that I have heard a lot is, speaking the language, understanding the business that you protect. Really great call out there. But another thing that I haven't heard, active in the community
Yeah.
and how you're helping others. So really great answer. And I don't think it was long enough. That was perfect. That was
Thank
awesome.
you.
That's
10
what people
points.
want to hear. Yeah, 10 points. So what is the biggest challenge or challenges that you're facing right now as a CISO?
Ah. Get in line. I mean, we could probably talk about this for hours, but
Yeah.
there's a couple of things that come to mind up top, right? Um, and it's related to where the business is going, right? A lot of the work that we do in the security team is enabling the business. So where the business is taking us, cyber has to follow, right? Or cyber has to lead the path to get the business to go fast. So we've been on a digital transformation journey, as every other business is, right? That's been our main focus, and we've been introducing digital tech into all aspects of our business, right? And that comes with some challenges, right? So training our users to be security savvy in the digital world, that's a big priority. That's one of the first ones that I'm it's a challenge. It's a task that we have to get done. Getting them familiarized with access controls, and introducing them to the world of kind of phishing emails and credential scraping and financial scams. This overall good internet hygiene, right? I mean, that's a net new thing as we kind of digitize the business a little bit. Digital transformation also includes moving a lot of our compute and our workloads into the cloud, right? From our data centers, things that were running on servers, now we're moving into a cloud environment, et cetera. And also consuming a lot of our services kind of in a SaaS model, right? No more servers being managed, patched, et cetera. It's being run as a SaaS model. Now that brings a little bit of a shared security responsibility model, which security people don't really like. We like to be in control. So when you have a SaaS environment or a cloud environment, some of the lower stacks are not under your control, and you have to depend on your cloud or the SaaS provider to provide that security for the lower stack, right? So there's a level of due diligence and third-party risk management that you need to drive to keep our users and our data secure, right? So that's the second one. That's a reasonably good challenge. Now, when you are moving some of this stuff outside of your data center, outside of your control, and into the cloud, you have to kind of dust off your IT resiliency plan a little bit, right? Um, you need to plan for a potential service disruption, right? That is really not in your control. It's not in your data center anymore, right? It's outside. And that requires quite a bit of messaging to the business application owners and kind of establishing high availability and creative business continuity plans, right? It becomes a team effort, right? And that kind of rounds out some of the high level challenges that we are facing now, right? Primarily due to where the businesses are going or where the business is going.
Yeah. I think you're not alone. I hear that, and it's a theme within all of the conversations. Those are very top of mind
Mm.
challenges that a lot of people are facing. Very well said. I like the creative continuity planning. Um, if you got any tips on that, we can talk later about
Yeah.
anything that's working well for you. Okay, what about the role now versus, 5 years ago? Has
Mm.
it changed for you? Are you seeing a different kind of responsibility that you're undertaking?
Yeah, so there's a few areas that we think CISOs now are changing their responsibility. And again, I go back to the whole cloud journey and our digital transformation itself, right? The role used to used to have that level of control that we were comfortable with. Now we are getting to we have to accept the fact that you are no longer fully in control of the full stack, right? Your digital footprint is increasing, right? As the business expands, your footprint is increasing, and with that footprint, your attack surface is also increasing, right? It's constantly expanding, and we are, we are reliant on others now, right? And that's the reality of it, and we just have to accept it, right? And that is something that CISOs didn't have to deal with maybe 5 years ago, right? With
Yeah.
the expansion of cloud and SaaS based consumption, et cetera, we are heavily reliant on it, right? Um, we are cyber is actually adding and becoming a differentiator by catching these risks, and we are kind of talking about it and putting mechanisms in play that mitigates the risk, right? With when it comes to third party and having the third party kind of run some of the lower stacks. And the shared responsibility model is a net new change, and that's the first one that I can think of. Um, CISOs are also taking on IT resiliency programs, and I'm starting to notice that, right? I have partial responsibility for IT resiliency within my organization. It's an evolution, expanding the role we play, right? Again, with digital transformation, businesses are accepting the fact that software is susceptible to failure, right? And having a resiliency plan is no longer a choice; it's a must-have, right? A service outage, whatever the reason is probably best handled by a team that is built for incident response, right? So that's why the security teams are now being looked at to kind of take on IT resiliency programs, right? That's actually a rather solid move at the CTO CEO level, right? Trying to kind of get the teams to be responsible for it. Um, to be honest, you know what, having a solid, business continuity disaster recovery plan, um, I'm pretty sure CISOs are probably sleeping better knowing that we have one and they are in charge of it, right? So I'm just kind of thinking about that and saying, yeah, it's probably for the best to kind of have that resiliency program kind of sit in the CISO. So those are kind of the two that I can think of that CISOs are kind of changing in their role, right?
I like that. So, how are you fostering a culture of diversity and inclusion on your security team? It's near and dear to my heart, and I believe it is yours as well. So,
Yeah.
what are you doing anything different that you want to share with the world?
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm doing anything unique or different, but it's more born out of necessity, right? So we are a global organization, and we interact with, we have global offices, we interact with different cultures, different values, and we are actually learning how different regions interact with each other and gets work done, right? What we do in North America may not be how things get done in Europe, may not be the way APAC works, right? Um, but as a global organization, we had to adjust and adapt to all of it, right? So that requires quite a bit of messaging to the business, and having that diverse team with leadership that drives kind of diversity and inclusivity, right? To bring innovation and efficiency, right? You are bringing in multiple thoughts and multiple conversation that allows us to be innovative at the same time efficient in the work that you do, right? We always like to say, keep the lights on, right? That is something that is really scary to me, right? That tells me that things are just going to go on as what we had before. But when you bring in innovation, efficiency, and that different thought process, right? Um, a diverse team would actually make that light shine a little brighter, right? It's not just keeping the lights on. Keep that light shine a little brighter. I can even say, look, switch from, whatever bulb you have to LED lights, make it better, make it efficient, right? And then maybe even automate the on off function to reduce some waste, right? So if you bring in that diverse thought process and inclusive teams, right, you're going to get all of those conversations going, right? Otherwise, you're just doing stuff, just making things going. We're not trying to make improvements, right? As far as the team is concerned, we are constantly in touch, right? I don't think that is unique to us. We have a bunch of comms channels that we are always talking on. We have team meetings, in-person meetings in the office. Even after even through COVID, we were trying to meet general outside, right? We were trying to get ourselves outside together. 2 years is a long time to be away from the office, right? So as as the opportunity arises, we're going out and having a good time, which brings opportunities to kind of introduce new ideas and thoughts, right? So that we are not stale, right? That's
Yeah.
the word to use.
I think the best ideas are generated out of fun, aren't they?
You know it, you
Some
know it.
of them.
Less stress, right? If you can have
Right,
it in
right.
less stress and open environment, open conversation, that's going to bring a lot of ideas and thoughts.
Yeah, agreed. It's extremely important to have the attention of the business. How do you foster communication with other groups in your organization and get them to buy into embracing security? And I think you kind of like teased it out a little bit earlier when you said, you know, you have to be business minded and knowing what you're protecting. So, any more thoughts in that, like how you
Yeah,
keep their attention?
I always thought transparency and continuous communication, right? Those are kind of the key two things that I can find kind of fall back to. One of the things that I did as I took on the role was to be open and transparent. I didn't want cybersecurity to be a mystery box, right? Cybersecurity is mostly a mystery box in organizations. It's a black box that is it's a sense of secrecy because it's cyber, and that is unwanted, right? You don't want that. We want organizations to celebrate the cybersecurity programs that they have, right? Be transparent in the work we do, and even enable other teams to introduce security as part of their goals, right? That is something that one of my leaders have always told me, right? You are successful in your role when you can get other teams to adopt some of your goals into their goals, right? um, at the end, we're trying to foster some shared ownership and accountability for cybersecurity across the business. We call it building a culture of cybersecurity, right? And that's something that we can always attribute to, right? Um, we are heavily reliant on tech across all aspects of our business, right? So, when we are talking about, technology being introduced into all aspects of the business, there's that increased cyber risk that you're introducing as well, right? And while it is efficient, the leaders aren't thinking about the risk that they're introducing as well. They're kind of thinking, okay, the cyber team is going to take care of it, but they have a they have a responsibility to kind of address that, right? Um, Messaging that to the technical teams and the business leaders, right, gives them the opportunity to bake in the risk, right? They can now think about, okay, all the different things, we are thinking about supply chain or warehousing or e-com, et cetera, right? They can definitely look at baking in the cybersecurity risks that they are going to think about in each one of those aspects, right? And putting in some risk mitigation plans, and we can help with that, right? And they can be the biggest advocate for you, right? So these leaders would go to, obviously their leadership and up to the chain of command, to the executive leadership chain, and they would say, look, I have a cyber risk that I need to mitigate, right? And that helps you in the long run as well, right? So I think that transparency and continuous communication, and that's probably what's going to help us here.
I like that. I also liked your language around fostering shared ownership of cyber. Like
Yeah.
it's critical for your success, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how the transition away from the traditional model, more hybrid work,
Mm.
and the events of the past few years have influenced or transformed how you'll move your business forward in the coming years.
We have to take advantage of every event that happens to us, right? So, regardless of what kind of catastrophe it was, we just got to take advantage of it. I think COVID was probably a blessing in disguise for the IT community, or just transforming the digital side in general, right? It's been an exciting few years for us. We learned a lot, right? We ripped off a lot of bandages when it comes to tech, and it's not every day you get to pivot and deploy some net new technologies. Super exciting, right? We were scrambling to get some of that work done very quickly, and it was exciting times, right? So, if you think about how when we kind of moved into that whole COVID era, when we all just went home, right? VPNs became a choke point, right? Applications were all sitting in our data centers and they were hard to get to. Endpoints were all reaching into the enterprise and kind of storing data there. So if they weren't coming in, you had no endpoint visibility, right? All of these were issues that we knew we had to tackle, right? When things were actually good. But we kicked that can down that road in favor of other priorities, right? They were just working, so they weren't broken. But COVID put a stop to all of that, right? We accelerated a bunch of transformation for the best, right? So we introduced some SaaS-based EDR solution that gave us visibility regardless of where the user is, right? That was awesome. SASE solutions, right? Secure access, secure edge solutions helped with securing that internet access when the user is remote. At the same time, it also introduced some scalable access to the data center that hosted some of your applications that aren't moving out, right? And the best part of all of it, like, we really accelerated our SaaS consumption model, right? The services are constantly updated and they scale to the need of your business when you are kind of going into the cloud or the SaaS model, right? And your infrastructure, your access point, your egress, they're all augmented by these supersized partners that you have that are built for scale and global availability, right? So those are kind of some of the things that came out of this, this hybrid model that we went into, right? And it's super exciting time.
And you kind of mentioned your global partners. What qualities do you seek out or value in security partners?
Yeah, that's a good one, and we all have long-term, large, small, medium-sized, whatever, right? Partners with us. Um, Partnerships require mutual investment in time and resources, right? When I think about having a conversation with a partner, right? It starts with building a relationship. I asked my partner to take time to understand my organization and my organization's needs. I may not know, or I may not be up to par on what the exact needs are or where the technology is going. And I'm really looking to my partner to kind of help me understand before they even talk about a product, right? So it's all about that conversation that happens where you're understanding the organization's need, right? And again, and I go back to that trust building model, right? We are starting that process of building that trust, and make yourself valuable to our organization, right? Show us your roadmap, consider our feature request, right? Invest in our future, right? Help us kind of build along with you, grow with you, right? Um, you also got to realize, like, look, we are investing a lot of time and resources in building a support structure around the solutions that you are about to provide us, right? And let's make sure that relationship is continuous and it's lasting, right? One of the big asks that I have is, look, I will come to you first before I go someplace else, because I've already invested in you, and my relationship with you is a known quantity than if I go with somebody else or somebody new, right? So my partners are super important for me, and I really ask them to build that relationship with me.
Well said. Well said. We're so much alike. So tell us about the conversation with your board. How do you measure success and inform them? What information are they looking for as it relates to security in your organization?
Yeah, yeah. So that's unique in each organization, right? Understanding what the board of directors are responsible for. Now that is step number one, right? You as a CISO needs to understand what the board is there for, right? They act on behalf of our shareholders, and they have a fiduciary duty, both financial and other responsibilities, right? To keep the organization that they're the board of directors of running efficiently and smooth, right? That's their job, right? And cybersecurity for the organization is of paramount importance for the board, because that a secure environment is what's needed to keep the organization running secure, right? Um, because it has to have material impact, right? It could have a material impact to our share price, and that's our shareholders, right? If you had a cyber incident. So with some of the new SEC guidelines for reporting incidents and risk mitigation, the board is ever more interested. Like, they are more interested in making sure the cybersecurity team is well supported, right? At the end of the day, it all kind of goes back to, they have a responsibility to our shareholders and making sure that there is no material impact to the organization, right? Um, the other factor that I really glean from this is the board of directors, they hold senior leadership roles. They have held it, they're holding it now, or they have held it in the recent past, right? And they also have visibility into multiple organizations and industries, right? So they are a wealth of knowledge, right? Don't be shy in asking them questions or how somebody else is doing X, right? They know that you may not have all the answers and you're asking for help, right? They're a great source of information and can be a great supporter for your cause, right? My relationship with the board has been super helpful, right? I've had questions, and we relate on a lot of stuff, because these board of directors have organizations that have security programs, right? They feel the same exact pain that we are feeling, right? Or successes. So they are a great supporter for your cause. And our relations have been super solid.
That's great. So let's turn to the current focus around AI, generative AI, chat GPT. The adoption of it just skyrocketed, this
Yeah.
past year. And the wide availability of all employees now having using the product, the tool, and the potential for additional security risks. What about this presents you more challenges from a CISO point of view, or does it?
Yeah. No, that's a good question, Pam. And I think if you think about AI ML, it's not net new, right? And we have been at it for a while now, right? If you think about UEBA tools, right? You're talking about network behavior tools or analytics tools, chatbots, contact center, right? I mean, go back to IBM Watson, right? Right? They're all variations of AI ML solutions, right? What really got us going is the generative AI version that came out. Like, you could actually have a human level conversation with something, right? And that really spooked us a little bit, right? Um, when we ask a question and get an intelligent answer, well, we are taken aback, right? At that point. So now you're thinking about movies and you're thinking, oh boy, right? We got to start thinking about what the future holds. But it's gained popularity in the recent months, right? And it's really hailed as a disruptive technology, right? Significantly will alter the way businesses operate in the future, right? And I was reading an article today from MIT that talked a little bit about efficiencies that are going to be gained, and they were kind of estimating how many dollars we are talking about, right? Trillions is what they're thinking, right? Which is great, right? And businesses are going to take off after it, right? Um, there's a little bit of security concerns that we need to address, right? As we are kind of deploying some of these solutions, right? Um, the tech behind this is only going to get better, right? It'll get better at providing very truthful answers. It's going to get uh, doing some learning from your interactions. It's going to incorporate some of the responses to the others, right? Fact checking will no longer be a requirement, because today, when we look at an answer from, say, I'll use ChatGPT as an example, right? You have to fact check it, right? You have to be an expert and make sure that you're fact checking it. It is absolutely going to turn our industry on its head, right? Let's meet it head on, right? I don't want to miss out. I don't want the business to miss out, because cyber is standing in the way, right? Cyber should understand what we are doing, right? The biggest fear that CISOs or security people have is users dumping sensitive and proprietary data into the public domain, right? While they're taking advantage of the tool. They see the efficiencies. They're not thinking it through all the way. They're not understanding what the back end is holding. So they're just going to dump data trying to make that efficiency, right? Sometimes they're inviting these tools to listen in on sensitive meetings, right? To summarize the meeting minutes. These are all efficiencies that users gaining. Users saying, look, why am I sitting on a call for an hour when I can just have my chatbot listen to this for an hour and summarize this to me in 15 minutes? That's what I want, right? Let's just understand what the business needs, right? And how the business can take advantage of the efficiency that these tools are bringing. Like, have a clear, defined use case and identify some of these solutions that could help, right? Bring in the security teams, bring in the legal teams to ensure the solution kind of meets the policies and standards that we have established. Protect your data and have some clear guardrails around the deployments, right? At the end, look, you have to embrace the efficiency it brings, right? The business is going to be better for it. So we just have to embrace it, but we have to embrace it securely.
So last question, and just want to thank you for your time today, Alex. You've been
Yeah.
incredible. I love spending time with you, so I appreciate it. We all
Anytime.
do. Yeah,
Anytime.
yeah. But if you could go back to your younger self and give him a piece of advice, what would you say? And what would you say to the next generation of security professionals?
Well, I had to think about this a little bit, fam. I don't know if I would change anything. There's really no prescribed career path for somebody, right? So they're never planned and very rarely smooth, right? But if you think back to it, the fumbling and the stumbling that we did across our career, right, throughout our career, helped us better, right? Helped us better to be better leaders through our experiences, right? We have a lot of experiences, right? And we are better for it. And I truly believe this. Look, I was blessed with the opportunity to work on some great programs over my career, and I had some amazing leaders that I stood on the shoulders of, and that have set me up for success to be in this role today, right? And as for advice, look, the technology landscape is going to be changing all the time, right? We are going to move around. Look, we just started scratching the surface with generative AI, right? That is just going to take off. And with all of this, you're going to have increased cyber risks, right? Understand your business, know your business, and what impacts your revenue, your profitability, and your brand. Like, you got to know that. You, as a security practitioner, owe it to yourself to understand those three things: what brings your revenue, what impacts your profit, and what's going to impact your brand. Don't let your guard down, and you have to adjust and adapt continuously. This is not a once and done thing, right? You had to adjust and adapt to that changing technology and security landscape. I guess that would be my advice.
Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely, Pam. Thank you so much.